Palmer again, ole ole. Lovely stuff. 3 big, beautiful points. Away on the road in the Premier League with another, yet another Cole Palmer first half hat-trick, which, by the way, is 3 consecutive seasons in a row. So every season he's been at Chelsea, he's scored a first half hat-trick. Heck, last season he scored 4 goals in said first half. Absolutely chicken oriental. Palmer, of course, converting 2 penalties very, very well. And lashing home a lovely first-time finish for his hat-trick goal in the first half. It was all Liam Rosenior's Chelsea needed in this game. A game of 2 halves, and of course we've seen a consistent theme for Chelsea this campaign of halves being different, but Wolves were always going to come out a little bit differently at home. They did score a goal off a set piece, kind of fortuitous. That their kid Mane looked pretty good as well, but we'll take it. That's what, 4 Premier League games under Liam Rosenior, 4 wins. Yes, of course we were always expected to beat Wolves away, but you know, at home, a couple new signings, you know, in the thunderstorming rain, you never know what's going to happen. How are Chelsea going to respond after their disappointment to Arsenal? And Cole Palmer just exploded, basically. You know, he summoned his inner Noni Madueke and said he didn't do the Instagram page, everything about this place is S-word, but he got the hat-trick. And to get 3 consecutive seasons of first half hat-tricks is incredible. I saw on social media he had the same amount of goals in that 27-minute span that Bukayo Saka has in his last 4 months, which is, you know, top bants. But we can't really take the mick out of Arsenal because they've just eliminated us from the League Cup and they are going to win the Premier League. Sorry to bring the mood down, but who knows? Maybe Chelsea will win the Champions League. It's a spicy race for top 4. There's lots to top 5. It will be, I think, the top 5 spots. Lots to speak about. The wingers in this half. Pedro Neto against his former club. I don't think necessarily was that great. Wasted some opportunities. Enzo Fernandez starting in the left wing position over the likes of a natural left winger, Alejandro Garnacho. Surely has to be discussed. We're going to crack into it today, ladies and gentlemen. But you know what? Welcome back. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for all of you who subscribe to Football Therapy on the YouTube. Dropping a like. If you do choose to subscribe and you're yet to do so, you should make sure that you hit that sweet, sweet bell, baby. Baby girl. Worth also mentioning, of course, Football Therapy Podcast. You just search on your podcast apps and you can listen. Heck, on Spotify you can still watch. Make sure you follow and 5-star. Right, let's take a look then. Here we go. Wolves set up with a back 4, not a back 5. Now, interestingly enough, they had 2 Gomez's on the pitch. A double pivot of double Gomez. And they had 2 Mbeumo's in the back line. So, 2 different partnerships next to each other, and Mbeumo's and Gomez's. And I'm reliably informed there was not just a Gomez on the bench, but a Gomez that's not been selected. That's 4 Gomez in one squad. Have you ever heard something more Wolverhampton Wanderers at the moment? Of course, little Angel Gomez coming in on a loan with an option. He's a great little player. Armstrong playing behind Tolu, who's good. And that kid, Mane, on the left wing. Is he the new left Mane forwards for Sadio's, the void he's left? He was pretty dynamite, that kid. And look, mate, I'm very lucid to the fact how Wolves are not good. But this is the Premier League. It's a stormy day away, you know, at home, and they have had slightly upturn in, you know, in performances, and you know, since Rob Edwards came in, there's a little bit more of a sort of team spirit. So it's just, you can't muck about in the Premier League, mate. Do you know what I mean? You got to be serious. So here we go. Here's Chelsea. Here's it says 4-2-3-1 here. We'll look at some heat maps. The Kai Santos pivot, still preferred. Rob Sanchez will be fuming for conceding and not keeping a clean sheet because he's got quite a few this season. He's been playing very well, deserves a great deal of respect. Rob. Yes, so we've of course seen the first choice left back, Cucurella, Gusto in right back, which of course means for all the people who are somehow criticising Liam Rosenior for not starting Reece James against Arsenal in the semi-final second leg, like, how do you not start your captain? If he starts against Wolves, I'm going to be fuming. Well, there you go. I'm sure if Rosinia had Reece James available to him, he would have played him in the semi-final. Reece James wasn't in the squad. So there you go. Captain Reece James. So we saw Gusto, who was in the wars, by the way. It's some like big scratch down his eye. He got smashed in the face by his own teammate. He was really going, like I said, through the wars in the rain. First choice centre-back partnership, Fofana and Chalobah is kept. I thought both were pretty good. Chalobah was good last-ditch defending. I think Wesley was very, very good, aggressive front foot defending, as we expect from him. Caicedo had a very good game. Again, it is against Wolves. Caicedo's a world-class player. He had Andre Santos next to him, who's an excellent player. But it's nice to see people have good games and redevelop their confidence. I think that's very, very important, you know. So, Joao Pedro and Cole Palmer do play well together. Joao Pedro won 2 penalties for Cole, and then Cucurella crosses in for Cole's hat-trick in the first half that he finishes beautifully in the top of the net. Right, so we had Neto on his native favoured right-wing position, as you can see here on the heat map, for those of you watching a video. I think he had good moments, played quite well, but in the final action, perhaps his decision-making wasn't great. I would probably put that down to him going back to his old stomping ground, getting booed. He wasn't originally booed, but I think when he scored against them, he celebrated loads, so they're like, right. Okay, well now we're going to boo you. You know, Wolverhampton Wanderers can't boo Pedro Neto for being sold to Chelsea after a few years of service for 50 million quid. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just the natural order of things, gosh darn it. But yeah, since he celebrated against them, I think he got an assist and celebrated, and they were like, right, well, that's it then. Fair play, all is fair in love and war and football. Yeah, he worked really hard, did some good stuff, but I think the final action, his decision-making weren't great, and I do sort of put that down to being back at Molineux. Now, this is interesting. Enzo Fernandez playing as ostensibly of a left winger, which we saw at the Emirates against Arsenal. Now, I must say, I don't know if I like it. It doesn't scream greatness for Alejandro Garnacho. And before you shout at your screens or your listening device, yes, it's a sort of lopsided, sort of hybrid formation, and he's not playing as a conventional left winger, as his heat map would dictate. It's kind of like a left-hand midfield pushing up. But if you look down here, he is holding some width at the time. And of course, later on, he sort of went central, which will skew his heat map a little bit. But yeah, it's a way that you can have Caicedo, Santos, Fernandez, and Cole Palmer all on the pitch at the same time. So obviously, when this formation came out, when the lineups were announced, should I say, everyone was seeing it as Fernandez in the 10, Palmer on the right wing, and Neto playing on the left wing, which we've seen a bunch. That's what we all expected, but no, Neto was on his favoured right wing, Cole Palmer was in his favoured number 10 spot. That's where he scores all his hat-tricks, and Enzo Fernandez was kind of being that left-sided attacker. It'll be interesting to see Joao Pedro's heat map. Yeah, classic false 9 all over the gaff, really. Yeah, man, Santos, yeah, right defensive pivot. Caicedo slightly less, but all over but all over the gaff still. Gusto gets, playing as a sort of reserved, not getting to the byline, but staying on the touchline, holding the width on the right. Cucurella similarly the same on the left. Not getting too far advanced, but holding the width. Right. Now, if you look at the attacking momentum meter on your screens, for those of you looking, for those listening, I will describe the first half, or the first openings of the first half, Wolves came out with a little bit of bite, and it was a little bit wobbly until we, of course, scored that first penalty. And for those of you seeing, it was all Chelsea momentum dominant into that first half. Cole Palmer, we'll speak about him in a little bit more detail at the moment, and a bit more distributed in the second half. They scored and they had a little bit of momentum and a little bit of oomph coming out for pride, and ultimately Liam Rosenior's Chelsea sort of, see out a professional away win in the Premier League. In terms of timeline, Cole Palmer, so essentially in the 13th and the 35th minute, Joao Pedro wins 2 penalties. In the first one, it definitely is a penalty, but Joao Pedro purchases that penalty with all his money. He knows exactly what he's doing. It ends up being like studs on the side, and it's a penalty. But yeah, it's a bit of, let's call this clever centre-forward play. The second was really stupid from the Wolves player. He pushes him. Again, Joao like a like a, Premier League forward does these days, goes, oh, you're going to push me in the Premier League area? I'm going to show that I've been pushed and go down. Obviously, he could have stayed in his feet, but you could see he was pushed, but the going down is just further highlighting what's just happened. And great centre-forward play from Joao Pedro, and Cole Palmer dispatches what can only be described as 2 excellent penalties. I think he's only ever missed one. He might have missed in a shootout, but his, penalty record is naturally insane. And of course, they were both really excellent finishes. It's worth mentioning his celebration for the first one in the 13th minute. He does do his cold celebration, which he didn't do last time. He sort of covered his ears, like I said, don't listen to the noise. And then I think he blew kisses to the Chelsea fans. A lot's communicated in a very short amount of time there from Cole, but he would seem happy. Scores again, and of course, Cucurella putting in a cross, and he does a first-time finish into the roof of the net in the 38th minute, which completes his 3rd consecutive season first-half hat-trick. Wow, what a mouthful that is, but what an incredible feat to score in, there's certain players like the aforementioned Bukayo Saka who's never scored a Premier League hat-trick. Palmer's got 4, and 3 of them have been first-half hat-tricks, and one of them was 4 goals in a first half, breaking a Premier League record. It's not been done before. And it's only Sergio Aguero that scored 5 Premier League goals. And everyone thought he was going to get at least 1 in the second half against Brighton in that game. And who knows, maybe he's the first player to score 6 goals in one game. That's sort of crazy records from Cole Palmer. Absolutely sensational scenes there. Yeah, man. So we go in halftime, 3 goals up, and we think, and of course I do my Instagram halftime live, and there's lots of people thinking 7-0, this, that, and the other. Like, when you're 3-0 up and you got half to go, and players sort of check out a little bit, and Wolves come out, it either goes like a 7-1 or how it went today, 3-1. We did have some good chances. I genuinely thought it was going to end 4-1 Chelsea, but by the time they scored, I thought, okay, we'll see. Don't do anything embarrassing here and concede another, let alone imagine conceding an equaliser. But they didn't concede another, and I thought, okay, we're good for maybe squeezing one in the end for a 4-1 away win. We didn't do that. There was a good few chances to do so, but it became a professional good performance, and the 4th straight win for Liam Rosenior. Premier League wins. Garnacho comes on for Palmer in the 61st minute. Palmer does not look unhappy at all. This clearly is a plan, managing Palmer's fitness, protecting him. He's got his hat-trick. He is look back in the groove. Do not damage our boy. Do not re-aggravate that recurring groin injury. Just get him off the pitch and let's see out the win. So, he knew he was coming off clearly around the hour mark. He had, turned, applauded the way, and everyone understood the sort of brief with that. Eventually, of course, you're going to want Cole Palmer to be able to play 90 minutes. But even, in this instance, if he was fit to play 90 minutes, there's an argument that you take him off anyway, because you're like, right, he's done his job. He's still our best player. We don't want him to be injured, so we'll see what happens moving forwards. Garnacho comes on, which moves Enzo more into the midfield, of course, or centrally, and Garnacho holds the left flank. We'll speak about player performances. I do need to speak a bit about Garnacho. And look, we weathered the storm a bit. Handball, Cucurella. There's a double handball. They went from Cucurella to Fernandes. Joao Pedro comes off, straight swap for Liam Delap. He did a couple of good things right. A couple of things wrong. Gusto, who's been, like I said, in the top of the video, he was in the walls a little bit. He comes off for Josh Achampong, who is trusted in this game, and we see out the win. Santos sadly gets injured, hopefully nothing serious, and Hato comes on. Let's just quickly look at heat maps for players that came on. So Josh Achampong did play right back for coming on for Gusto. Alejandro Garnacho did hold the left width, as you'd expect, coming on there. Liam Delap was a straight swap for Joao Pedro, and Hato, played sort of left midfield in the double pivot, so he's being trusted a lot. Hato, he was being billed as like a left centre back, left back, but it's really interesting to see. Rosenior's first game, I think he played him as a left half space attacker. It's almost like he's like, right, this Dutch kid from Ajax can ball. I'm just going to play him in the left pocket. But it's very interesting to see Rosenior taking Joel Hato and being like, I'm going to play you very much inside the midfield, up the pitch a little bit, because I trust your defensive instincts to sort of be combative, but I don't want you to be in the last line, or I can see you progressing the ball a little bit more forwards. And it is ultimately quite interesting. Let's quickly, before we speak about the player performances, let's take a little looky here of statistics. Just do it by halves, because this was very much a game of two halves. In the first half, we had 2.57 XG, which is a lot in a single half, but of course penalties will juice that. Despite that, we created 5 big chances. See, that is like, you know, when you're Chelsea Football Club and you're creating out of 5 big chances, you want at least 3 goals, maybe 4 goals, 11 shots to their 2, very, very dominant. And so the second half, they did create slightly more XG. Of course, we're off the board a little bit. 0.59. I did think we were good for an extra goal in the second half to maybe draw at 1-1, the second half that is. But they did take 9 shots. They came out a little bit. Of course, we conceded the goal that Rob Sanchez will be very frustrated with. But ultimately, we get the 3 points that will keep us in, excuse me, the top 5 regardless, even if Liverpool win. And that ultimately, of course, is the target for us. It's probably, at this point, the way Man United are playing under Carrick, they look very good indeed. We are the hope. Aston Villa drop off, which they might do, by the way. We are only 4 points behind them, so that might open up a spot in the rest of the campaign. And, of course, it'll be up to Liverpool to try and get in there as well. So let's talk about player performances to wind this video down. Rob Sanchez in goal, I think, was very good. I'm not going to dig him out at all. The goal's not his fault. It was a set piece. It was a brilliant piece of football from the new Mane. Prior to the set piece, he hit the post and it fell to sort of Tolu, kind of on the penalty spot. Really only Joao Pedro between him and Sanchez. He turns, he drives it in. It's a low drive. It's a sort of, I don't really know who to blame for that goal. I think maybe it's just one of those things which I'm sort of willing to accept, but Rob Sanchez naturally, I mean, ultimately we're like, oh, another set piece, another goal, not a clean sheet. It's a frustrating thing for a fan, but in the context of this game, in that moment, I'm kind of okay. It wasn't like someone free as a bird, unmarked, just heads it in. It was like the way it fell to him. It was a bit unfortunate. Cucurella was good. Gusto was fine, good. Pretty good. You know, he nearly scored a really good goal, Gusto, on his weaker right foot, lashing it to the right near post with his weaker right foot. Did the right thing in terms of a high finish, forced a good save. It would have been great if he scored that and, you know, finishes the season with a few goals, Gusto, from being a guy who never scores to maybe having, like, you know, 4 or 5 goals at the end of the season. That would be great fun in all comps. I thought Wesley Fofana was excellent. I know you guys give me jip for being too much of a super fan, but I do love him. And I thought Chalobah was really, really good as well. Really combative. I love how Chalobah literally celebrates every block. Even if you'll like block it with his face, and he'll just be like, yes! And that's very John Terry. Love that. Kai Santos midfield, very, very good. I'm be quite concerned actually with the health of Andre. Hopefully it is fine. But, you know, good. Palmer, excellent. It wasn't just the penalties that were excellent, the hat-trick goal that was excellent. It was the stuff in between. He was feeling himself. Yes, it's Wolves, of course, the caveat. He did a couple of Cruyff turns in the edge of the 18-yard box, like first-time passes, clearly expressing himself again. Loves to play with Joao Pedro. Yeah, you know, I think he does, despite him playing with Delap at City under-23s, and England youth levels, clearly he prefers playing with Joao Pedro. We sort of saw that budding relationship in the Club World Cup. It fizzled out a little bit, but seemingly Liam Rosenior is bringing back that partnership. And of course, Joao won him two penalties and played pretty well himself, Joao Pedro. I mean, Palmer, what else can you say? We can just hope he takes this, he keeps going. He's got some games where he can express himself further. And find, you know, I'm pleased Chelsea are protecting him and bringing him off at 60 odd minutes, whatever. Yeah, Joao Pedro, I'm delighted with as well. Even when he's even when he's not scoring, he's getting a 7.8 rating. You know, which would have made him, that was just higher than any Wolves player on the pitch, and that includes Tolu, who got a goal. So yeah, really, really good performance from Joao Pedro. Enzo Fernandez, he got joint lowest rating with Garnacho off the bench and Neto, who started. I don't think either of the wingers were great. I think Neto was just his decision making. Again, I put that down to a psychological thing away at Molineux. And Fernandez, I mean, he just ostensibly isn't a winger. I know you could say it's the left half space, which he does good work in, you know, crashes the box and scores. when you've got most of the ball, though. There's not much box crashing on transition or whatever. It's just, doing his job. Also, he plays so many minutes, Enzo. It's crazy. He didn't get substituted here. I think he's got the most minutes for Chelsea this season, certainly of any outfield player, I think. So in terms of the substitutes, I think Josh Achampong was fine, very serviceable. I think Joel Hato was fine, very serviceable. I just want to speak about Liam Delap and Alejandro Garnacho. They're clearly two players absolutely devoid of confidence at the moment. Delap making runs and it hitting the back of his heel. Garnacho I'm not going to be. It would be churlish of me to suggest this guy hasn't got the capacity to be excellent or have excellent moments, because he's got a very high ceiling. Garnacho, some United fans will tell you that. Some will laugh. He's doing bad. Naturally, comes to Chelsea as a bit of a stinker. They'll love that. But there were loads of Man United fans that were like, you want him and spend 70 million. He's our star boy. And of course, him going for 40 was frustrating for them. He's got a high ceiling. He can score like push gas overhead kicks, but he's got a very, very low floor. And that's the problem with Alejandro Garnacho. And at the moment, bro is lying on the floor. He is stuck to that floor. And it will be up to Rosinia to do something with him. Fortunately, he can, in games like this, he can bring him on and doesn't have to dig him out. But we'll see. And Liam Delap, again, much like Maresca, Rosinia has a history with Delap, and he'll need to find a way to get this guy scoring goals again. Delap is okay. I think he's definitely worthy of being a squad, a Chelsea squad player off the bench. And I do believe Liam Delap can score goals in the Premier League as a centre forward and be very useful. But we'll have to see. Joao Pedro is just so clear of him right now. They're not even in the same stratosphere. Early doors, I thought Delap could be Chelsea's 9, but they ain't speaking the same language at the moment, bro. And it'll be up to Rosinia to sort both those chaps out. Right then, I'm feeling pretty good about things. Let me know your thoughts. Please do leave them in the comments section. Thanks as always for supporting me as a content creator. Very grateful for that, for liking and subscribing, following and 5-starring on the podcast apps. Remember, just search Football Therapy Podcast and you can help me out there. Look after yourselves, be nice to each other. The world's a pretty tough place of late, so if you can just be a little bit nicer to each other, that's a step forwards, eh? And Wolves were nice to us in their own home, inviting us in and giving us 3 lovely points, and a first half hattie for Parma. Right, take care, peace.